if I gave in.
So welcome back. My next guest has been on many times before. I have with me David Fisher. He is the CEO of Landmark Capital. Welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, Carol, for having me. I was on last Friday, and all of a sudden things have changed again.
Oh, my gosh.
I shouldn't say changed. Nothing's changed. Just more information of the same topic.
Well, I know we don't, just a tiny bit, though. Tell for anyone that may have not heard you, just because, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Little bit.
I've been in the precious metal industry for 23 years. Our company, Landmark Capital, I'm the CEO and owner of it. We have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. We're accredited members. In my agency, in my industry, there's an agency called ICTA. I have the same guidelines and the same type of reporting with them. It searches all the bad companies in the industry and also what the bad things the government does, and we have an incredible track record.
Okay. Now, I also want to get out a little bit about some for you things that you do, but you told me today, before you came on, because I was reminding you that you were coming on, and you said that you couldn't wait, but you were going to ring some bells. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I rang some bells last Friday when I said, get ready. We could have another major meltdown that would be triggered by banks in the United States. 5 out of the 8 banks are not compliant with the Fed. They got an F on the thing called the living will, which is if banks fall apart, how do they unwind their books? And let's put this all into perspective. What happened in 2008? Lehman Brothers, which had 209 subsidiaries, a total derivative risk of $35 trillion and $639 billion in assets. They brought the whole financial system down because they couldn't unwind their books with 209 subsidiaries. And here we are outside of this here 8 years. It took them over 3 years to unwind their bankruptcy because it was so intricate, and we have what you call a domino effect, or everything's systemic. One entity affects another one. So using that as the template, because 2008 changed a lot of the world financially and a lot of lives. The banks that are doing the same things that Lehman Brothers, that they're supposed to not be doing because of the Fed saying don't do that anymore because of the Dodd-Frank rule says banks, you can't do that. They're not being penalized. And 5 of the largest 8 banks are doing the same thing, but even bigger, risking money with what and a derivative risk, which is a legal bet on Wall Street that causes banks to get into trouble. And JP Morgan has 3,391 subsidiaries, which I mentioned this on Friday. They alone have $75 trillion compared to Lehman has $35 trillion. They could never unwind fast enough. It's impossible. And they got an F the last 3 years on the Fed living will test, which is what would happen if you got into trouble? How would you deal with this? I got some calls as a result of people saying, where'd you get this information? Before the House and the Senate Banking Committee, this is the Fed before our legal government testifying and confirming these things. This is public knowledge. The most mainstream area you could get, the government admitting it, asking the questions, and the Fed admitting it. So they use the term, you need to get this right, Fed chairman, because we don't want this to go on the taxpayer's back and have the taxpayer bailing out the banks, which is what I've been talking about.
Right.
It's called a bail-in. Okay. That was Friday. I had a moment of reprise when we shot off fireworks, and I love our country. And I'm getting a little emotional thinking about how much we all love our country. And I thought how patriotic I am and how I support the veterans and do a lot of things for our country because it's the thing you do as Americans. And then the next morning, which is this morning, I wake up and I search the news and bam, it's worse today than when I was on your program on Friday. We have 2 of the largest banks, larger than Lehman's, larger than possibly JP Morgan, that are in trouble. One in Italy and one in Germany. The Deutsche Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the large German bank. Yeah, your eyes got big, didn't they? You're going, oh my gosh. It's like, yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is like the bank of all banks in Europe. Okay.
Right. I mean, right.
The Deutsche Bank. they're in trouble. The IMF says you got to get your books in order. You could bring down the whole financial system. The Fed said that too today.
What should people do to be? What should we do, David?
Again, diversifying precious metals, because they're talking about, they even use the term again on CNBC, having a European bailout happening.
It's going to happen.
When people say, "Oh, come on, this ain't happening," it's all been up on our eyes. It's in the mainstream media news. It is happening now almost once a month, if not now it's a couple times in a month.
You know, David, you've had, you're on the radio on several different, syndicated on some of the channels out there. You also have had your own radio show. You come out here because you're all about educating. That's what this is all about. It's not about scaring anybody or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I really love the way that you talked a little bit about your company and how you work with people. Please do that again with us.
We do several things. We're committed to education. You know, most companies just, you call them up and they pressure you into buying some product that they have in their vault and they shove it down your throat. How can I figure that out with talking to a person in 5 minutes? There's no way possible. I'm not that mindset, or that, I don't come from that set of values anyway. So we create a thing called a financial blueprint, which is an interactive conversation that helps people get educated. And out of that education, we believe that if people are smart enough, they can figure out what they need to do for themselves once they have the facts laid out clearly, the benefits, the drawbacks of all the markets, their upside potential, the short-term downside risk, what it does during inflation, what it does during currency devaluation, what it does during market turmoil. Those are different environments. We go over all those, and it's about a 15-minute interactive conversation, and people will know more than 99% of the people out there that have either bought or thought about buying. They say, I've learned so much. And usually many of these people have talked to 3 or 4 or 5 other gold companies by the time them getting down and actually learning about this. So I encourage people, if you're thinking about buying gold, give my company a call. You won't put away your money. You're not going to buy. That's not the purpose of this call. The purpose is you will learn something that's probably crucial to your financial future. Whether you work with my company or not, at least you will understand. I'd love to have your business. I think I would be worthy of it, but they will at least understand for themselves what products is best for them.
Now, your phone number is 602-287-9200. That website is landmarkgold.com. Also, please tell them about how they can, well, we're going to do the giveaways. So with you and we can talk about it, but you've got obviously the white paper that you've written. You said you're writing another one too right now.
Yeah, I'm writing another white paper. I'm also writing
changing
a book.
Daily.
Yeah, I should. Just in the last 3 months, there's been so much more information. We're on our 5th edition. It hasn't even come back from print, and I already need to add more. I mean, that's how fast this process is going, that the world is moving towards a bail-in.
Also, you're going to give everybody you've got a way that they can take their IRA and having physical possession of your metals and taking physical possession of it with no tax liability. Will you please just quickly talk about it real quick?
You can roll over your retirement and take physical possession. Most people don't understand that. They think there's a tax liability. I'm talking about rolling over your IRA, rolling over your 401k, and having the metals in your hands, not a third-party depository. The competitors that I know how to do this, I've researched them, they're somewhere between $9.95 to $19.95 in their legal fees, and we're at $350 through a lawyer that we've been using for 6 years. If you're out of state, it's $385 because you have to have a thing called a statutory agent, and we'll explain all that. But there's a legal process that's been approved by the IRS. So this is government approves, and we can even cite the documentation of the approval of this in the report. And, you know, most people that hear this the first time, they go, did I hear what I thought I heard? Yes, you heard what you thought I heard. Take possession of your metals in your retirement without a tax liability. So if they flip the switch and they choose to do this thing called the bail-in, which now is, I don't want to say it's clearly on the table. It's been on the table for some time. It's just being defined.
Coming. It's really coming.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, all we need is one. We're 1 to 2 headlines away from a bail-in. That's really where we're at, because we're on the verge of a major global recession again, and that's what would trigger this bail-in or something prior to that would say we got to preemptively do this. So, if they do that and you have the metals in your hands, they can't see something that's done on electronic. They only can see the electronic system. So this is why we encourage, they're either going to inflate our way out of this problem, devalue the currency, or do a bail-in, or kick the can down the road. And all four of those roads lead today to gold.
So you need to take we have to take care of our own money. And we have to make sure that we're in control of it, not the government. So they're going to give everyone this information, and we have it here. Our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. The white paper is all about the coming bail-in and how to avoid it from affecting you. And then, of course, you're going to get your IRA having physical metal and taking possession with no tax liability. Give us a call here at 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Check them out. It's landmarkgold.com, or call them. They do free consultations at 602-287-9200. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back. We're talking with David Fisher. He's the CEO of Landmark Capital. And, David, a lot of people wonder why a lot of people come back on my show a lot. But there's a good reason for it. And for you, we didn't say this, but you have had your own radio show. You've had I did say that, I guess, before, but because you really want to get the word out about what you know and what you've learned and what you want to educate them about.
Well, I first started being on the radio. I was thrown into the radio when all of a sudden I was at another metal company, and the owner of the company says, "Hey, can you do the radio show?" I go, "I've never done radio." He goes, "Well, can you?" I go, "Probably. When is it?" In about 5 minutes. And so I got thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
And it was an
hour
long program, and I loved it. I fell in love with the radio for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then I paused from the radio and started doing some other things, some writing. But now I've got thrown back into it full force, to the point of where people are saying, "Hey, can you come on my program? Can you come on my program?" I had a person call me out of the blue that said that they saw me in one of the largest financial newsletters in America.
Congratulations.
And I said, "Really?" And they started reading it. I'm going, I didn't know that. And so what I'm finding out, Carol, is that somehow, some way, there's this, my name and the concept is getting out there. It's not about me. It's about people learning. And so there's something that happens when we talk about people's money and what the government is trying to do to get people's money from them. And that's really the source of the crux of what I talk about. It's my passion. Mm-hmm. And helping people understand that. Because if they understand that, then they'll understand why they need a portion of their assets in gold. And so this person has said, I've talked to several other companies. This happened just earlier today. I've talked to several other companies, and you're the first person that has spent some time with me and started putting all the pieces of the puzzle together of all the other gold companies. It was like 3 or 4 of them. And one was local here in Scottsdale. So, and I'm not putting any, and there's more than one.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But here's what it is. It's about you trying to get them to understand the information first. That's it. It's not about anything more than that, really, for you.
Correct. It's a passion of mine to help people be engaged in their money. That's the bottom line. Because if people understand what their choices are financially, and that gold is what causes gold to move, and why they should own gold or silver in the portfolio, why does it take such a viable presence now more than ever, and how does it compare to other investments like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? How does it react in these environments, and those asset classes react if we have another financial crisis, or if we have inflation, or if we have a currency devaluation? Then they can say, this does make sense, or no, this does not make any sense for me. Thank you for your time. And then we part ways, and I say, God bless, I wish you all the best. So that's how we operate. But I'm concerned, I'm scared to death, because putting Deutsche Bank into perspective, Lehman Brothers was leveraged at 31-1. Deutsche Bank is leveraged over 40-1 currently. So when people say, it's over there, okay? What happened in Lehman in America it caused the whole Europe suffered more than we did in the aftermath of 2008. In fact, they're still suffering. Evidence why they're still having banking problems. We've put more money into our banking system than Europe has, but we have still 5 major banks that still cannot figure this thing out if they got into financial trouble, which only any one of 5 and
would bring them all down.
Would bring them all down. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, State Street, and I forgot the last one off the top of my head. Okay, but Deutsche Bank is bigger than most of the ones I just listed. They're not bigger than JP, but they're bigger than probably the other 4. So, and to understand, the Brexit relates to all this because 19% of the revenue, so a fifth of the money that comes to Deutsche Bank comes from Britain. So when they exit, and Britain now is saying that it's going to be a 2+ year process to get out fully away from the European Union. That's how long it takes. Even the European Union is saying that's the criteria. Once they do the Article 50, which invoke Article 50 says we're officially doing this, it's going to take 2 years. So we're going to be in this 2-year process of uncertainty. They're the biggest bank in Europe. Their headquarters are in Frankfurt, but their largest subsidiary is in London. So that's the biggest arm that they have is in London. So to say that this bank, they're over there to not affect us, it's all across the financial news today. And saying, how will this affect us? So when the IMF says this could bring down the whole system, I better wake up and smell the coffee.
Well, that's what I think people really need to do. And this is informational, and it's something that you need to look at. He's offering for everybody to get this information. We have the white paper for you, and also that is the coming bail-in and to how to avoid it from affecting you. Also, we want you to get the information on your IRA having physical metals and taking possession with no tax liability. You can call here at 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. We want you to get that information. Also, you can call him direct. They do free consultations with everyone. That number is 602-287-9200. You can also check his website out, which is landmarkgold.com. Go ahead.
The Italian bank Monte dei Paschi. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, so I apologize to all the Italians out there if I'm obliterating the terminology. The largest bank in Italy is another bank right behind Deutsche Bank in size and influence is in trouble. It came out in the news today. The former Italian treasurer, Lorenzo see if I pronounce this, Codogno, he's the former director of the Italian Treasury. He said this, quote, "The risk of a Eurozone meltdown is clearly there if Brexit concerns are not immediately addressed." They're not going to be immediately addressed. We already know it's going to be 2 years. We are going to have, they're talking about now, clearly now they're saying, I said this on your program Friday, they're saying the perspective of a recession, global recession is possibly there. Now, Deutsche Bank came out today and said there's a 60% chance of a global recession happening.
Oh my gosh. Well, go ahead.
They created a separate unit for the Italian bank that has 700 people addressing their debt situation. They put it off in a subsection of their company, and they're trying to sell that company because it's such a bad asset class and nobody wants to buy it. So they're trying to deal with this through selling of an asset and lowering the value of the asset, discounting the buy. Nobody wants to buy bad assets now. That's the problem. Where do you go with all this bad paper? We still have a lot of bad paper out there, Carol. We have problems.
What is the future then for us, David?
Well, the future is the Fed's going to possibly do another quantitative easing. Get ready for that. Gold, when they did quantitative easing 1, was 720, and it went to 1905 in 4 years. So we're going to have over doubling and a half of gold if they do another quantitative easing, possibly if history repeats itself. We're going to have a currency devaluation or inflation or the thing that they are talking about doing, which is a balance. So there's all these roads that lead to gold. Diversify into gold. Call our company, 602 287-9200 and get some of the facts.
Get the facts, get the information, and that's what it's really all about. They'll do a free consultation for you. Again, that number is 602-287-9200. Check out their website. It's landmarkgold.com. We've got everyone, and I'm going to let you keep calling for at least the next 5 or so minutes, and you're going to get his white paper that he's writing, rewriting, and adding more to it all the time, too. And that is the coming bail-in and how to avoid it from affecting you. Also, get this information on your IRA, having physical metals and taking possession with no tax liability. He's made it incredibly affordable for everybody, too. Call us here at 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Again, it's landmarkgold.com or 602-287-9200.